Hey y'all, Kraken Latte here. It's that time again where I bring you my tips, facts, or experience that you may or may not find helpful. This will be part 1 of a mini-series covering various items you can use to portal around the cosmos. Number 1. Argent Crusader's Tabard. As you can probably guess from the name, this is a tabard that portals you directly to the Argent Tournament grounds in Northrend. It's got a 30-minute cooldown and is actually pretty handy if you need to do dailies there, or to farm stuff like Ulduar or the Time-Lost Protodrake, since those are both really close to this area. It costs 50 champion seals. Number 2. The Baradin's Warden / Hellscream's Reach Tabards. Similar to the previous item, this is a tabard that ports you to your faction's base in Tolbarad. It requires Honored with that rep there, and costs 40 Tolbarad commendations. It has a 4-hour cooldown. It may not seem that useful beyond doing the Tolbarad stuff, but it really is if you consider that there is a portal directly to your faction capital there in Tolbarad. So it's sort of like a second Hearth, but to your main city. Numbers 3 and 4, JAINA'S Locket and the Signet of the Kirin Tor. These are both here as they do almost the same thing. They both port you to Northrend Dalaran. The difference is that JAINA'S Locket opens a portal that lets party members use it too, while the Signet of the Kirin Tor does the same thing except for only yourself. That locket is a reward for completing the Shadowmourne legendary questline within Icecrown Citadel. This is no quick questline either, so be prepared for that. The locket has a 1-hour cooldown. The Signet, on the other hand, is a lot easier to get, but it costs between 8,500 and 6,800 gold, depending on your rep level with the Kirin Tor. You buy it from a vendor in the jewel crafting shop in Northrend Dalaran. It's spendy, but if you plan on going to Northrend a lot and you want to port there from anywhere, you'll like this piece. It's got a 30-minute cooldown. Number 5. The Time-Lost Artifact. This is a trinket that portals you directly to the Timeless Isle in Pandaria. There are a lot of things to farm there, so this is super handy if you plan on going back often since the isle is way eastern in Pandaria. It only has a 1-minute cooldown, but you likely won't be using it back to back, so that part kinda doesn't matter. It requires Honored with the Emperor Xiaohao reputation and costs 7,500 timeless coins to buy. Number 6. Boots of the Bay. These nifty booties port you to the inn down in Booty Bay, which is pretty helpful to get down to that part of Eastern Kingdoms. The only drawback is these have a whopping 1-day cooldown, so you can't use them often. You get them as one of the rewards from placing in the top 50 during the Stranglethorn Fishing Tournament. If you'd like tips on how to do that, I've done a video and a playthrough of the whole thing. Link for that is in the description. Number 7. Pugilist's Powerful Punching Ring. That's a lot of P's. This portals you directly to the Brawlers Guild area in Stormwind or Orgrimmar, and has a 1-hour cooldown. It's another nifty way of getting straight to your faction capital from anywhere, as well as right to the Brawlers Arena, of course. It requires rank 4 with the Brawlers Guild rep, and costs about 2,000 gold. Number 8. DIREBREW'S Remote. This item summons a mole machine that portals the entire party to the Blackrock Depths dungeon inside Blackrock Mountain. This is a sweet way to get to anything you need there in the mountain, since a plethora of raids and dungeons are here. If you're a dark iron ore farmer and smelter, this is a great way to get right to the depths since you can only smelt that ore here. It's got a 1-hour cooldown and comes from the daily reward you get from completing the holiday dungeon during Brewfest. As of this video, this item is a bit glitchy though, so keep an eye out for that when you use it. Number 9. ULTRASAFE Transporter MECHAGON. Don't be fooled by the name, this isn't part of the engineering items that share a similar naming convention. This comes from MECHAGON and lets you port directly to Rustbolt with only a 1-minute cooldown. The item is a consumable and is crafted with spare parts and energy cells. You have to loot the blueprint from GearCheck or Cogstar before you can craft this item, but it's really worth it if you plan to farm collectibles, rep, or work on achievements there each day. Number 10. Violet Seal of the Grand Magus. This nifty ring portals you directly to Karazhan with a 4-hour cooldown. After the portal in Legion Dalaran was removed, this ring is super handy for getting to this part of the Eastern Kingdoms, especially for Horde players. you can get this by turning in Nightbane's bones from the dungeon version of Karazhan at the end of Return to Karazhan quest chain. The first quest in this chain is Bookworms, which you pick up from Mage Darius directly outside the raid instance. It's not a long questline, and it is totally soloable now since it's from a previous expansion. Numbers 11 and 12, the Blessed Medallion of KARABOR and the Critter Hand Canyon plus Fractured Necrolite's Skull. Both of these items will teleport you directly to the Black Temple in Outland. The Blessed Medallion has a 15-minute cooldown and is a reward for finishing a really long quest chain that begins with Adal, the Naru in the center of Shatrath City. The Critter Hand Canyon plus Fractured Necrolite's Skull are both toys that you can use to do the same thing, but perhaps in a more fun, satisfying way. The skull requires a critter to be sacrificed to open a portal for you. It can be any critter, and the cannon summons a pod of critters on demand, which can be used for the sacrifice. The skull is a toy from the Burning Crusade time-walking vendor for 750 badges, and it has a 1-hour cooldown. The cannon is a toy you get from doing the quest Wolf Pack Attack in High Mountain. Funny how they work together, right? Number 13, the Cloak of Coordination. This is a cloak you can buy from your guild's vendor if the guild has it unlocked. This cloak and its lesser versions all port you directly to your faction's capital of Stormwind or Orgrimmar. The Cloak of Coordination costs 500 gold and has a 2-hour cooldown. The Wrap of Unity costs 300 and has a 4-hour cooldown. And the Shroud of Cooperation costs 150 and it has an 8-hour cooldown. Each of these are unlocked by different guild achievements, and they don't share a cooldown, so you can get all 3 if you want 3 times the city porting. Kinda nice. Number 14, and the last item for this video, as well as my most favorite, the Potion of DEEPHOLM. This is a consumable that instantly teleports you to DEEPHOLM with only a 1-minute cooldown. It's crafted by alchemists, so it's not hard to get a hold of. Why is it my favorite though? Well, DEEPHOLM has a port to your faction's capital, and it's instant. So like some of the other items on the list, it's like a second hearth. With its instant use and short cooldown, I use this the most of any item I've mentioned here. The other items that port you to or near your faction capital are just backups for me in case I run out. And the best part? You can buy and sell these, unlike the other items, with the exception of JAINA'S Locket, so it's good for gold too. Hi y'all, Kraken Latte here. Here's part 2 to the Useful Portal Items mini-series. So just like the previous video, these are not items that work only in specific zones. They are not quest-specific teleports, and they are not items that just mirror your Hearthstone. This time there are some class and profession restrictive ones, but I'll tell you which is which. Number 1. Admiral's Compass. This is an item that teleports you to your garrison shipyard on a 4-hour cooldown. It's like having a second garrison hearth, which is super handy for zipping in and out of Draenor on demand. You get this as a reward for completing 50 naval missions, which doesn't take too long if you keep up with it each day. Number 2. Relic of KARABOR / BLADESPIRE. Another teleport item that takes you to Draenor, since there seems to be a good handful of those, except these take you to your respective faction cities of KARABOR and Shadowmoon Valley and BLADESPIRE and Frostfire Ridge, each on a 4-hour cooldown. I word it like that since those areas were supposed to be the faction cities, and that's why these items exist, but it just never made it that far. You need to be revered with the Council of Exarchs or Frostwolf Orcs to get one, and it costs a couple thousand gold. Number 3. The Last Relic of Argus. Don't be fooled by the name, this isn't connected to the Legion Zone of Argus, it's an older item. This little thing will teleport you to some random area across Azeroth on a 12-hour cooldown. The list is quite extensive and those are on screen, though I can't confirm that this is all of the locations since I don't have one of these myself to test it. The relic comes from Draenei Archaeology and is a rare solve, so don't expect to get it quickly. Number 4. Commander's Signet of Battle and Captain's Signet of Command. These are faction-specific rings from the Battle for Azeroth service medal vendor. These are a bit spendy, costing 300 service medals, but they will teleport you to Borealis or Dazara Lore. They've got a 30-minute cooldown. This isn't too handy right now as of this video, but I'm sure it will be once we are in future expansions and you need to come back here for whatever reason. Number 5. Engineering toys. These are all items that are not only crafted by engineering, but they require engineering to use, as well as the first 4 in the list on screen wanting you to have goblin or gnomish engineering. There are a healthy variety of them too, as you can see here. There might even be more than what I've found. As a word of caution, these can actually backfire and kill you. Sometimes they'll port you way up into the air and let you fall to your death, so keep a glider or a slow fall or something on hand if you plan to use these. The best part though is that all of these are toys that can be added to your collection tab, so you only have to craft them once. Any of your engineers can then use them at the appropriate level. Number 6. Scroll of Teleport, RAVENHOLDT. This is for rogues only, but it's super handy. This is looted from the Scroll of Teleportation interactable that is randomly spawned by Marin Noggenfogger in the Rogues Order Hall in Legion DALARAN, right by him. And it doesn't cost anything, it's just a matter of finding it when it's up. The stuff in this treasure area does change daily, so check back each day if you want to get this. It will take you right to the RAVENHOLDT Manor northwest of Hillsbrad Foothills on a 1-hour cooldown. Number 7. Nature's Beacon. This is a toy that is a druid-only item and is sold by Lorelei Wintersong in Moonglade for 40 gold. No special requirement to get it besides being a druid. It'll port you to some random nature place on a 1-minute cooldown, so it's kind of fun to poof around with. I don't know how many places this actually has on it though, since I couldn't find a conclusive list. I'd think I'd find one, then test it, and get more places that weren't listed, so have fun with that. Number 8. Dreamwalk. Another druid-only one, but this is more of a class ability. You unlock this with the Legion Class Hall intro, and it replaces Teleport Moonglade. This does more than take you to your Druid Order Hall though. It takes you to the Dreamway itself, which has a list of portals to different zones. The best part about those portals is they work both ways, so you can actually use the other side of them too if you choose. The spell itself, if used again while still in the Dreamway, will take you back to where you last used it. Just make sure you don't go through another portal there in the Dreamway, or you can't do that. I make that mistake a lot. Number 9. Ancient Teleport, DALARAN. I know the title of this video says for non-mages, but mages do have a couple unique portals that are not from the trainer and I want to bring up. The Ancient DALARAN port is one of them. This takes you to the DALARAN crater in Old Hillsbrad. To unlock this teleport, you have to go to the Scarlet Halls dungeon and kill everything up to the last boss. Kill him quickly, the flamethrower guy, before he burns all the books. This is super easy to do nowadays because of our levels. The book is on a shelf to your right when you enter, and bam, new spell. Now you can get a portal version of this too, once you have the teleport. Go to Northrend DALARAN and over to the Alliance side. There's a little shop attached to it on the right that you can get into, regardless of faction, and the NPC inside sells it for less than 40 gold. Now you've got the teleport and portal version of Ancient DALARAN. Woo! Just don't troll your group too much, Number 10. Teleport Hall of the Guardian. One more mage-only teleport, and this one has no group portal. The Hall of the Guardian teleport takes you to the Mage Order Hall in Legion, DALARAN, which you get within the first few quests of Class Hall stuff. Unlike monks, druids, and DKs though, using this a second time does not take you to where you used it last. You just come back to the hall. That said, considering mages can unlock portals to each of the zones inside their hall, and the Hall of the Guardian spell can be used from anywhere, that makes this pretty handy, and it's why it's on this list. Number 11. Zen Pilgrimage. This one is monk only, and takes you to the Monk Order Hall once you have unlocked that in Legion. It replaces the Peak of Serenity teleport, but there is a portal to the Peak of Serenity still inside the Monk Hall, which is a great way to get over to Pandaria. Much like druids, using this a second time while in your order hall will port you to where you used it last. Number 12. Deathgate. This is a Death Knight only spell that will teleport you to your class order hall of Acheris the RAVENHOLDT. Before you unlock the Legion version, this takes you to the Eastern Plaguelands, and afterward it takes you to the Broken Isles. Unlike Druid and Monk, who both get portals in their halls to the old locations, Death Knights don't seem to have one unless I've missed it. That's okay though, as there's another port in-game to get to the same area that I'll talk about in a minute. Back to the Death Gate. Like Druid and Monk, however, DKs can use this a second time while in their order hall to return to where you used it last. Pretty handy. Number 13. Pet Dungeon Portals. These are not class specific and not too hard to get. I highly recommend getting them even if you hate pet battles. As of this video, there are 5 teleports, all on screen, which will take you to Gnomeregan, Stratholme, Westfall, Blackrock Depths, and Wailing Caverns. Once unlocked, these are account-wide, currently usable by any level of character, and are available to both factions. All you have to do is complete each of those pet dungeons once, and they're all yours. Some of these places are a pain to reach, especially as Horde, so these have been super nice for me to get around with. Once you've unlocked them, you can talk to Manapoof in Dalaran or Borealis/Dazara lore and use them. To me, the Dalaran one is the easiest to get to since we have the Dalaran Hearthstones, which you can use from anywhere. So that's why I count these. Mwahaha. Number 14. Ever-Shifting Mirror. And for our last item, consider this one an honorable mention. It can't be used from anywhere, unlike the requirements I set for this video, but it does take you across Outland and Draenor. When used in certain spots, this item will take you to that same spot in the opposite universe world from where you are. The spots are highly specific though, and there's a lot of them, so if you want to get between Outland and Draenor in certain areas, I've got a link for the Wowhead info in the description. It's a little complicated, or I would have put it on screen. This is a toy you can get from the Burning Crusade Time-Walking vendor for 500 badges. Besides RP, I don't really know what you'd use this for, but I'll leave that up to you. Hi y'all, Kraken Latte here. Whether you're leveling or doing dailies, it's likely that you've fallen to your death at some point. Some classes have fall prevention, like slow falls, and some don't. Regardless of your class though, there's a plethora of items you can use to spare yourself the embarrassment. Here's a list of my favorites. Let's start with consumables. Number 1. Sea Mist Potion. This has a 1-minute use with a 5-minute cooldown. This one is made by Alchemy and it's kind of fun since it turns you into a cloud. It also lets you float over water surfaces too, so that's pretty helpful. Number 2. The Avalanche Elixir. This one has a 5-minute cooldown. This one is awesome. It's not a slow fall, but it will prevent fall damage by turning you into a boulder. You also do AoE damage when you land, so that's something to keep in mind if you didn't want to pull whatever was beneath you. It can get a little dangerous, trust me. Number 3. Potion of Slow Fall. This has a 30-second duration with a 5-minute cooldown. This one is not crafted, but rather found in the Hanging Satchel in Draenor's Shadowmoon Valley at coordinates 4746. This is its only source, which means it's a limited quantity item. That said, I'm sure you could come up with some creative ways to get a crap ton of these things, like alt army or something, as they are useful in a pinch. Number 4. Goblin Glider. This has a 2-minute duration with a 3-minute cooldown. I'm sure you're familiar with this one as it's pretty popular and not too expensive. This item is crafted by engineers who can also make their own personal versions for their cloaks, but I'm a bit partial to the consumables, so I don't forget to put it on a new cloak and kill myself by accident. Unlike other items, this is not really a slow fall as it keeps your momentum from where you last jumped, so you can get some pretty sweet distance with it. So that's consumable items. Now let's look at a few non-consumables that are pretty handy and fairly accessible to everyone. Number 5. Evenus's Landon Pilla. This is a 10-second duration trinket with a 30-minute cooldown. From the quest, Look at the Size of It in Searing Gorge. This one's got a long cooldown, but it's easy to snag at any level just by questing, and it's not consumed on use, so it's a handy tool. Number 6. The Humming Black Dragon Scale. This is a 15-second duration trinket with a 2-minute cooldown, and it drops off of Rathian in the Ny'alotha raid on any difficulty. This one's got much better times than the previous trinket, but the drawback is it's not a guaranteed drop, and it comes from a raid, so you can't get it at lower levels, at least not easily. Bonus though, is it has a really cool cosmetic wing effect. And number 7, the Whispers of Raivash. This is a toy with a 10-second use and a 1-hour cooldown. It comes from Raivash and Drainer's Shadowmoon Valley, but this one comes with a warning. You can't use it while moving, i.e. falling, and it has a cast time. So this one isn't good for emergencies. But it's easy to get and it isn't consumable. And it's toy, so it's account-wide, so I thought I'd mention it. It's a good backup. Hi y'all, Kraken Latte here. Back in patch 8.2, a new system of mount equipment was introduced to give us some additional abilities out in the open world. But this also meant that the Water Strider mounts could no longer walk on water by default. The replacement for that technically comes in the form of the inflatable mount shoes or the Angler's Water Strider's equipment, both letting you walk on water while on any mount. The water walking equipment is great because it's on all the time, but maybe you're like me and prefer one of the other options like the saddle chute or the comfortable rider's barding. So let's look at some alternative ways to walk on water. Number 1. Water walking elixirs. Most of these are made by Alchemy, and these are my favorite since they do work with your mounts. There are a few different versions of them from the different expansions, such as the Draenic Water Walking Elixir being from Warlords of Draenor Alchemy. You can craft these yourself, or just look up Water Walk on the auction house, since most of them contain that in their name. Number 2. Class abilities. Of course, if you're a Shaman or a Death Knight, you have your own water walking spells that work with your mount, and can be cast on party members. Priests and monks also have levitate-like abilities, which do let you float across water, but those don't work with mounts. Number 3. The Underlight Angler. This one's a bit more niche, but if you have the Legion Fishing artifact and you've taken the time to unlock the water walking talent, you can water walk while you have it equipped. Of course, this is a bit of a pain to get on alt since it takes some footwork to get. I've only done it 5 times, and I'd rather not go through the effort again for this puppy. Nice for mains, though. Number 4. Angler's Fishing Raft. This is actually a toy you can buy from the anglers in Pandaria once you've hit Revered with them. It doesn't require a rep to use, though, despite what the tooltip says. It does require level 1 of Pandaria fishing, but there's no fishing involved to get that. And since it's a toy, any character on your account can use it. It's literally its own mount that lasts for 10 minutes, and you can speed it up with your jump button. You can get pretty fast, too. And of course, you can also fish off of it. Number 5. Gnarlwood Waveboard. This is another toy just like that Angler's Raft, except that it costs 300 doubloons rather than rep. You can get doubloons from doing island expeditions in Battle for Azeroth. I don't have this one yet, though, so I can't show you what it looks like. Number 6. XA1000 Surface Skimmer. And lastly, we've got an item crafted by engineering. This is not a toy, so it's a consumable. It's similar to the previous 2 items, but it only works for 25 seconds. It's pretty fun looking though. Did you know you can basically be a mage without actually being a mage? By that I mean you can use engineering to portal around while being any class you want. Cool, right? Since the new patch dropped recently, I've been cramming in some leveling in order to make the 50 to 60 leveling guide. While traveling time doesn't usually bother me, it can get a bit old if you're doing this repeatedly. So, my not-so-secret tip here is that I made all of my alts who aren't designated as main crafters into engineers. The Wormhole Generator is a toy that works like a personal portal system. You can choose which zone in the Shadowlands you want to port to, including Oribos, and it's only on a 15-minute cooldown like a Hearthstone. And it requires Shadowlands Engineering Level 1. That's it. Which you can pick up as soon as you enter Oribos, so no leveling for your engineering required. Plus, since the wormhole is a toy, your entire account can access it and you only need to learn it once. Don't want to craft it? Well, you can buy it on the auction house too, and you still only need to get one. Now, I know many of you are saying, yeah, Kraken, we knew about this, you're just late to the party. And that's completely true. However, I wasn't drawn to this before because the wormhole toys from past expansions, including Battle for Azeroth, do not have targeted portaling. They poof you somewhere semi-random in one of the zones, and it was just annoying to me. The Shadowlands one, however, is not random, and it's got a port for all 4 zones, Ouroboros, and even the Maw is an option when you're level 60. That makes it seriously worth it to me. Oh, and the best part? I can use this toy from anywhere. Need to get to Ardenweald from Outland? Done. And it puts you in the same spot every time, so it's reliable. And that makes me happy. And there we have it. If you think I've missed information or you want to request I do a specific guide, let me know in the comments below. Even if I don't answer you, I just might add your idea to my list. As always, thank you so much for watching, and remember, it's never too latte.